Hello, everyone. Today, I want to re-record a talk that I gave at the Seasoning Aesthetic this April or May in Washington, D.C. This is a meeting that I go every year. It's an amazing meeting only based on the science of skin aesthetics. And every year, I decide to give a talk on the big umbrella of social media and not science made me buy it. This year, I did an epic rant on hyaluronic acid and why I think is the most overrated ingredients in skincare. So let me walk you through my rationale and the science behind this statement. First, we cannot deny that the market for hyaluronic acid is immense and is expected to grow almost 10% in the next years. And I have to be very clear, hyaluronic acid, I think, is an amazing molecule that is key for skin health and balance and youthful appearance, but it's a very lame skincare ingredient. One is inside of the skin, produced by your skin. The other one is added to a product that needs to basically go inside of your skin. So the market is huge and is expected to continue growing. And this is a vision of the whole hyaluronic market, global hyaluronic acid market. And you can see, it's estimated to be billions. This includes also injectables. So what is hyaluronic acid and what is the big fussy about this? So hyaluronic acid is a polysaccharide. It's a long polysaccharide. So basically it's a long, molecule made of unit of sugars. And it is made of two different monomers. One is glucuronic acid and the other one is N-acetylglucosamine. And they are basically putting one and the other, alternating them. And this is done enzymatically by an enzyme called hyaluronic acid synthase. And we will talk about a little bit about this enzyme further in the presentation. So it's naturally occurring, which means it's present on your skin normally, and it's very important in your skin. It's a key component of the extracellular matrix. And it's very well famous for its exceptional capacity to bind water. We will see this, but hyaluronic acid actually has many other, different functions that are not directly linked to a physical capacity to trap water. So hyaluronic acid has been, determined that is critical for skin hydration, tissue repair, and skin health. So where is this hyaluronic acid? So approximately 50% of the body's total hyaluronic acid is found in the skin. So hence the reason why we need to restore or preserve levels of hyaluronic acid. The dermis specifically holds the majority of the skin hyaluronic acid, between 70 and 80%, due to its thicker and much richer extracellular matrix structure. And here I would like to point out that hyaluronic acid tend to not only be, among all the molecules outside of the dermis, but also get when complex fibers such as collagen or elastin get finally assembled and capture their three-dimensional structure that will provide the skin with firmness and elasticity. Hyaluronic acid is embedded into this three-dimensional structure to make sure that they have water there. The water there will basically provide the capacity of, for example, elastic fibers to stretch and recoil without breaking, and collagen fibers to provide firmness to the skin. So very, very critical to have functional elasticity and functional firmness in the skin. So the epidermis, we say that most of the hyaluronic acid is in the dermis. So the epidermis contains about 0.1 to 0.5 milligram per gram of hyaluronic acid per, when you measure this related to wet tissue. And if you measure this in section, basically in areas of the skin, you can calculate that 10 to 15 micrograms, so very small amounts of per square centimeter of a skin section are, is the concentration that hyaluronic acid has in the epidermis. In the dermis, as we say, it's more abundant. So we have 0.5 to 2 milligrams per gram of wet tissue, which is equivalent to 50 to 200 microgram per square centimeters in a skin section. So there is a difference, basically. Epidermis has lower, dermis has, like higher levels. And the reason, as we explained, are related with the thickness of the extracellular matrix that is present on the dermis, as well as, remember, the epidermis is in constantly renewal, so the extracellular matrix is not very abundant there. Okay, so which are my 3 reasons to support this statement that hyaluronic acid is the most overrated ingredient in skincare? I have 3 of them, and I will walk you through all of them, in the following minutes. The first is related to skin penetration, but we will also be talking about half-life and as well as the actual hydration capacity of hyaluronic acid. Okay, so let's start with, skin penetration. The mantra, the rule, the, holy law of the land is like molecules that are about 500 Daltons can penetrate the skin, and molecules that are bigger than that cannot. There is a caveat there because largest molecule, like for example, some growth factors can penetrate the skin because we can modify the shape of the molecule and the charge of the molecule. So we can make them kind of like a little bit pointy or like a needle that can go into the skin with the perfect charge that can allow you to go through the main layers of the skin. But these 2 modifications are basically not included in this hyaluronic acid. Remember, hyaluronic acid is made of 2 glucose units, and these are basically 2 sugars units, sorry, and these have some branches. So it's not a very needle-shaped molecule. So most of the time, we can see that in skincare, hyaluronic acid is described in 3 different sizes. We have high molecular weight hyaluronic acid, medium molecular weight hyaluronic acid, and low molecular weight hyaluronic acid. And if we look at the sizes of this, so the high molecular weight is between basically 1,000 and 2,000 kilodalton. Remember, the mantra is 500 Daltons. And these are basically 1,000 kilodaltons. 500 Daltons are 0.5 kilodaltons. So huge difference in size of what we think can penetrate the skin. We have, the medium molecular weight hyaluronic acid that is between 100 and 300 kilodaltons. So still very, very big in comparison with that 500 Dalton rule. And we have the low molecular weight, which a lot of companies brag about it because they say it's low molecular weight, that is between 10 and 100 kilodalton. It's still very big and very, large for skin penetration. So let's see what we, can understand from these different sizes. So first, the high molecular weight is very common in serums and in masks. And usually you have a concentration that is between 0.1 and 2% of hyaluronic acid. Most of the time, this large version of hyaluronic acid do not penetrate the skin and they stay on the top of the skin. It doesn't mean that doesn't provide a benefit. It provides a benefit of hydrating the upper layer of the skin, which for a mask is an amazing thing to do. For a moisturizer, if this only relies on this, it will be a crappy moisturizer, but it could be one of the many ingredients in the product. Some of the benefits that are claimed about this, and not all of these benefits that are highlighted here have full scientific data or clinical data, but basically what we can expect is immediate hydration because it stayed on the top of your skin, improving skin smoothness, and reducing the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles for the time being. It's a very gratifying product to apply. It kind of give you the sense of a primer, kind of smooth your skin, hydrated the upper layers, and it's ready to put your makeup on. But it will not basically provide major changes in your skin. Medium molecular weight hyaluronic acid is used in some of the serums that are called, either medical grade or clinical grade serums. And most of the time, it's a blend of different sizes of hyaluronic acid that goes between 100 and 300. It's not one size specifically. They claim that reaches the upper dermis. Still is very, very big. When you say the upper dermis, it could be the first layer, so basically past the stratus corneum and just get a trap there. It doesn't mean that you go, deep into the skin. We are talking dermal hydration. And basically what it does is, enhance skin moist rotation in upper layers of the epidermis, improve plumpness, may reduce redness. And also is a molecule that basically can plump the upper layer. So it can give you, a benefit on fine lines and wrinkles and kind of your skin looking more hydrated, more plump. The low molecular weight hyaluronic acid, which is what most of the people go bananas about because it's supposed to penetrate. But remember, this is between basically, like 10,000 and 100 Daltons, 100,000 Daltons in comparison to 500. So still very big in comparison with what we think can penetrate the skin. Is very popular, especially in high-end serums, as I say, because they offer this low molecular weight. I mean, if I'm telling you I have a low molecular weight hyaluronic acid, you immediately assume that this penetrates the skin, that this is, goes to the skin like hot knife on butter, and can produce deep hydration. So deep hydration is a term that means nothing. Most of the time is trying to imply that it's producing hydration of the dermis. But for that, it needs to go through the stratum corneum, epidermis, and reach the dermis. So some of the few experimental, and clinical data that we have is like this reaches the lower epidermis in not very significant concentration, but some molecules get there. Let's put it in that way. And what are the benefits that they are claiming to basically be linked to this low molecular weight hyaluronic acid are enhance of skin hydration, improve plumpness, and may promote skin repair. They may promote, it's kind of like a stretch of imagination because it's a matter of concentration. How much hyaluronic acid will be able to reach to that level that requires repair. Now, there is a caveat about the small size of hyaluronic acid. So big size, we know they're very good at trapping a large amount of water, but we have the issue that they cannot penetrate the skin. A small size will be able to bind less water, but the problem is like they tend to be pro-inflammatory. So let me finish this part before going to that part. It's like we have a new type of hyaluronic acid right now that is extremely expensive, that is called ultra low molecular weight hyaluronic acid. And basically we are talking about something that is smaller than 10 kilodaltons per branch of hyaluronic acid. Now remember, all the molecules that have an effect in your skin, they have a minimal size to work. You can chop this very, very small to obtain penetration, but it could be that is so small that it will not produce any benefits. In the case of hyaluronic acid, when you chop it very, very, very small, you start getting the opposite of the benefits that you are looking. So you are not finding, these molecules will not be providing you with skin health, youthful appearance, but they can provoke irritation or inflammation. So it's as I say, this is a very, very expensive form of hyaluronic acid, the ultra low molecular weight, due to cost and potential systemic absorption. So if this goes as the manufacturers say, like, as I say, like a hot knife on butter, will reach the dermis, and from the dermis can go, in theory, to circulation. And basically, one of the main issues that they have been observing with this ultra-low hyaluronic acid is that can stimulate repair. Yes, this is an amazing thing, but also have higher levels or higher risk of irritation. So depending on the skin, we don't know very well how this works, depending on the skin type of the condition that you have your skin or unknown factors, you can have irritation due to this low molecular weight hyaluronic acid. This has been used as a niche product for wound healing. So it helps you to produce wound healing. The thing on wound healing is a little bit unique because wound healing requires some low level of inflammation to happen fast. So that is the reason why this basically was done for that. And as usual, the cosmetic industry grabbed this and said, like, we have a molecule that is small enough to penetrate and can produce results. So basically, based on the science and the literature on these 4 different types of hyaluronic acid, we have some issues with, we have very, very big question about how much and how deep they penetrate and if they're good or not for the skin. So remember that I told you about how hyaluronic acid is produced by an enzyme. So this is like what it shows you is like this all these 4 forms of hyaluronic acid are normally present in your skin because you need hydration, you need basically promoting repair and promoting inflammation. So what is beautiful and tell you how well controlled hyaluronic acid production is in the skin is like you have 2 enzymes, hyaluronic acid synthase 1 and 2, that produce the large versions of hyaluronic acid. So the one that produce all the good things, the film forming capacity, sebum reduction, anti-inflammatory, increasing skin hydration, prevent transepidermal water loss, improve barrier function, improve elasticity, improve filament. So all of this stuff are under the control of 2 enzymes, hyaluronic acid synthase 1 and 2. They are normally expressed in the tissue. The third enzyme, hyaluronic acid synthase 3, is the one that produces very tiny pieces of hyaluronic acid. And these are the ones that can produce scar formation and can also, produce inflammation. And of course, the hydration capacity of these are lower because they are smaller. So we have to think about, our skin basically has 2 very unique pathways to produce large version of hyaluronic acid and a small version of hyaluronic acid, controlled totally differently by 2 enzymes, by 3 enzymes, 2 that do the large, 1 that does the smaller. And there is a reason for that. It's because, the smaller version, the one that can penetrate the skin easily and produce all this benefit, actually is involved in opposite processes like inflammation, scar formation, and doesn't provide a lot of skin hydration. Okay, so that was, basically my first rant on skin penetration. Let's talk about half-life. What is half-life? Half-life is like how much time it will require for a substance to be degraded to half of the original amount. So for example, if I have 10 milligrams of hyaluronic acid in my epidermis, based on the half-life of hyaluronic acid, it will take, in 2 hours, you go from 10 milligrams to 5 milligrams. In 4 hours, you will go from 5 milligrams to 2.5 milligrams. So always decreasing half of what you have originally. So a half-life of a couple of hours is a very, very fast half-life. And what it's telling you is like in the epidermis, the skin controls the production of hyaluronic acid very, 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 very well because it's basically an important molecule. So we know that the epidermis has a very high metabolic capacity because it's a layer that is of the skin that is constantly being renewed. And that basically produce, like a degradation of hyaluronic acid. In addition, keratinocytes produce different amount of hyaluronic acid depending on which state of differentiation they are. And environmental stressors such as UV light and pollution can destroy hyaluronic acid. And the hyaluronic acid enzymes that are involved in degradation of hyaluronic acid, so hyaluronidases, basically that is mean, if the hyaluronic acid synthase produce hyaluronic acid, hyaluronidases destroy hyaluronic acid. They have a very high activity in the epidermis. And that is the reason why your hyaluronic acid doesn't last more, a long period of time in the epidermis. On the dermis, side, is still, like a little bit, better, the situation with hyaluronic acid in comparison with the epidermis, because it lasts between 48 to 24 and 48 hours. So in about, like 4 days, you can have fully new produced hyaluronic acid. Now, to have an idea of how fast these timings are, remember, collagen has a half-life of years, as well as elastin. Elastin have a half-life of 75 years. So in theory, your elastin is the same that you were born with. So that tells you, how fast hyaluronic acid is removed and is produced in the skin. Very, very fast in comparison with other component of the skin. So, okay, so we know that it has some issues of penetration, but let's focus on, let's assume that it's 100% penetration here. Like we are taking a bottle of hyaluronic acid, 100%, nothing got degraded in the bottle, and everything will go through your skin. So we start with a bottle, and this is a good serum because it contains 2% of hyaluronic acid per 30 ml or 1 ounce of product. So basically what we are buying is 0.6 gram of hyaluronic acid per bottle. That is what we are buying when we get that type of serum. So normally a pump, when you pump your serum displays about 0.2 ml of product, but we are using an amazing pump, and this dispenses 0.5 ml of product. And so based on that, if we calculate the amount of hyaluronic acid that we are getting now, not from the bottle, but now from the pump, from the amount of product that you will actually apply to your face, we will be applying about 10 milligrams of hyaluronic acid to the entire face. So to make this even better, let's assume that we are applying 2 pumps. We don't care about the price of this product. We will just apply 2 pumps of hyaluronic acid of this product in our face. So we will be applying 20 milligrams to the entire face. So assuming 100% penetration, nothing got lost when you put it on your hand, nothing got stuck to your hands when you apply the product to your face. In 2 hours after applying this, based on the half-life of hyaluronic acid, we will have half. So we will have 10 milligrams. In 4 hours, we will have half of that, so 5 milligrams. And in 6 hours, we will have 2.5 milligrams. Now, we say that, and when we express this by the area of the epidermis, we will have 30 micrograms per square centimeter, 15 and 7.5 microgram per square centimeter. So is this relevant? That is the first question. Is this relevant? If I have an aged skin that requires more hyaluronic acid, is this actually doing something? Well, normally your epidermis has between 10 and 15 microgram per square centimeters based on the total area of the face of 350 centimeters. So what it's telling you is the first 2 hours is very good. In the next 4 hours, you are on the low spectrum. And after that, it's basically, it doesn't provide you with nothing. So that explains why when you apply a hyaluronic acid product to your skin, you feel immediate gratification, the upper hydration, the superficial hydration happens, and a couple of hours after is like nothing. And if you use this for years without, active ingredients that actually restore the health to your skin, you will see, basically, you will continue to experience dry skin. Okay, so, but remember, we say, that the penetration of these different sizes of different molecular sizes of hyaluronic acid is different. In literature, they claim that between 1 and 10% of the hyaluronic acid in the skincare penetrates the stratus corneum, so the first layer of defense. And this is basically based on an average of high molecular weight hyaluronic acid penetrate between 1 and 2%, medium molecular weight penetrate between 2 and 5%, and low molecular weight penetrate between 5 and 10%. So none of them penetrate in a very, very significant amount. So let's do the calculations again. 2 pumps of this, 2% hyaluronic acid serum. We added, we are adding 20 milligrams of hyaluronic acid to the entire face. But now we are assuming 10% of penetration. So we are giving this serum the maximum amount of penetration that is reported in the literature. That means that in 2 hours, we will have 3 micrograms per square centimeter. In 4 hours, we will have 1.5 microgram per square centimeter. And in 6 hours, we will have 0.75. Compare this with what your skin normally has or produces, which is 10 to 50 microgram per square centimeter. So when we add penetration to this equation, it's very clear why your hyaluronic acid product is not hydrating your skin. It's like it's not reaching the right levels, and it's not reaching there with the amount that will make something significant, clinically relevant in your skin. Okay, last part of my rant. And this is something that took me like 10 years to go over, because this goes to the time that I produced, that I was part of the team that produced one of the most popular hyaluronic acid products in medical grade skincare in the United States. And so this is related with this statement. Hyaluronic acid is able to trap 1,000 times or 1,000 folds its weight in water. And this, you know, these are some of the ways that people present this. These are taken from marketing, you know, different products, marketing communications. But the whole thing is like hyaluronic acid can buy 1,000 times its weight in water. And if you think about it, it's like, imagine you being able to carry 1,000 times your weight. It's a lot of things. Or just dropping 1,000 times your weight on the top of you. It's a lot. And the structure of the molecule is a little bit, it wasn't convincing me that that structure of the molecule that is linear with some branches can actually have the area or the capacity to add 1,000 molecules per gram of hyaluronic acid. So this is basically some of the things that I have been saying. A gram of hyaluronic acid by 6 liters of water. 1 gram of hyaluronic acid can fix 6 liters of water. A single gram of hyaluronic acid has the impressive ability to hold up to 6 liters of water. All of this is marketing, basically. Marketing statement coming from these scientific statements. So is this true or false? Let's see. So everything comes to an end with the publication of this beautiful paper in February of 2024, where they did an amazing job going through all the literature and all the issues related with that statement of hyaluronic acid being able to drop 1,000 times its weight in water. So, but where this started? This started with this paper. I mean, and when I was doing the science for this hyaluronic acid product, I spent hours, days, weeks trying to find the original paper that was the one that provides the data that hyaluronic acid binds its weight 1,000 times its weight in water. And I always got into this loop where people were quoting paper and the paper was being quoted again. And we always come back to this paper, to the 1998 paper where they talk about novel and established application of microbial polysaccharides. And after many, many years, and with the corroboration of this study published last year, I can say that this is fake news. So what is the statement that this paper of this 1998 paper from Sutherland said? They say the water binding capacity correlates with the molecular mass and can be up to 6 liters of water per gram of polysaccharide. In the paper, you can go and get the paper. The statement is not supported by any data in the publication, neither a citation. So this is something that the author basically thought about it. He placed his thought here, and basically because it was in a scientific publication became data. Okay, so what happened after Sutherland in 1998 posed this, you know, kind of communication? We start seeing a bunch of papers reporting the same thing. 1 gram of hyaluronic acid can hold 6 liters of water. It can, you know, like attach to 6 liters, and everyone was repeating this over and over again. Fortunately, there were some authors that actually did their work, and they find out, you know, that hyaluronic acid water binding capacity is very different from what Sutherland was saying. So here I have a collection of different papers that basically calculate how many grams of hyaluronic acid, how many grams of water a gram of hyaluronic acid can bind. And we have 0.6, 0.51, 0.50, so different levels. And if we take all of this together, it's an average of 0.58 grams of water per gram of hyaluronic acid, which is totally different and far, far away from the 1,000 grams of water per gram of hyaluronic acid. So in the paper published in 2024, they did a very good comparison, and they found out that, you know, like hyaluronic acid can bind between 0.36 to 0.86 grams of water per gram of hyaluronic acid, depending on the size of the, you know, like of the hyaluronic acid and the conditions in the medium. While glycerol, humble glycerol, very common and cheap glycerol, can do 1.3 grams of water per gram of glycerol. So when we compare apples to apples, the capacity of the skin hydration of glycerol and hyaluronic acid, I will go for glycerol anytime. And on the top of that, you know, glycerol is way cheaper. So based on the data of skin penetration, half-life, and hydration capacity, I can state that hyaluronic acid is the most overrated ingredient in skincare. Thank you so much for sharing this rant with me. If you have any question, you can find me in Instagram, or you can send emails to this email address, or put comments on this video. Thank you so much.